The Werner Company's Publications, by Anonymous, by Frederick Remington, a beautiful new pictorial dainty in all its appointments of high artistic excellence. This choice collection comprises many of Remington's genius, 9/12 inches. Japanese vellum binding, gilt-edged, boxed, $2. Schenk's Theory, by Leopold Schenk, 1500, Prof of Embryology in the Royal and Imperial University at Vienna and Pries of the Austrian Embryological Institute, the last and greatest physiological discovery of the age, 12 mo, artistic cloth binding, $1. The latest and best young people's history of the United States, by Hezekiah Butterworth, for many years editor of the Youth's Companion, author of Zigzag Journeys, The Night of Liberty, In the Boyhood of Lincoln, etc., 8 vo, 850 pages, $1. From the Days of the Visigoths, 350 500, to the Present Hour, by Prof. Jas. A. Harrison, Prof of History and Modern Languages at Washington and Lee University, revised and brought down to date by G. Mercer Adam, large 12 mo, profusely illustrated, emblematic buckram binding, $1. Or Heroes and Heroines of Pioneer Life and Adventure, by Carl Frank Triplett, $1. A Book for Boys of America, by those W. Handford. Mr. Handford gives a most reverent and interesting account of the youth of our Savior. The story is one that cannot fail to inspire respect, $1. Embracing articles on the horse, the farm, health, cattle, sheep, swine, poultry, bees, the dog, toilet, social life, etc. Size 85/12 inches, 636 pages, green cloth binding, price $1. An account of the last African expedition sent out, by P.T. Barnum, the latest and greatest illustrated history of the animal kingdom, capture and training of wild beasts, birds and reptiles. Thrilling adventures in all quarters of the globe. Written in easy instructive form for boys and girls, 8 vo, 502 pages, 84 chapters, hundreds of illustrations, large clear type, cloth scarlet stamped in black and silver, $1. By Catherine Beebe. What Miss Beebe's first school year is to the primary teacher, this little volume is intended to be to mothers. Miss Beebe believes that the ceaseless activity of children calls for employment, and home occupations is full of ways and means for mothers, enthusiastically endorsed by the press and leading kindergartners, 75 cents. New edition, printed from new plates, extra quality super calendared paper, copiously illustrated, the most attractive Pilgrim's Progress on the market, 200 illustrations, large quarto, 400 pages, $1. PG 108. By Hugo Zeman, Steward of the White House and Mrs. F. 50 Gillette New and Enlarged Edition, $1. Deluxe Edition. A special attention is invited to this new and beautiful pictorial. It embodies a bird's-eye view of the life and career of Napoleon the Great. The numerous beautiful colored plates were made especially for it in France. The rich binding of royal purple, embossed in gold and white enamel, is in harmony with the other elegant appointments. Each copy is securely boxed, $4. Thrilling narratives of personal daring in both armies during the Civil War, $1. Large quarto volume, 670 pages, scenes, events, manners and customs of many nations, with over 1,000 engravings by the most eminent artists. Present edition just published, silk cloth gold-stamped binding calendared paper, $1. By Rev. Francis E. Clark, father of the Christian Endeavor movement, small, 12 mo pebble grain, 25 cents. Go-at-it-iveness is the first condition of success. Stick-to-it-iveness is the second. If a man would succeed, there must be continuity of work. I have never known dishonesty successful in the long run. The wish for genteel occupation is ruinous. Too many young men seek soft places and go behind the counter when they ought to go into the field or machine shop. A superb selection from the world's greatest galleries and most famous private collections, price $1. Painting and sculpture, masterpieces of artists and sculptors of all nationalities, including all that is choicest from the world's Columbian exhibit, the International London, Paris, Vienna and Philadelphia expositions, price $1. Portrayed by the masters, a magnificent selection of most interesting pictures, collected from all lands, price $1. Famous works of the world's greatest artists on juvenile subjects, Before the judge, Cornelia and her jewels both astonished, Crimean gypsy girl caught, cut finger, Christmas box, defiance, etc., etc. Price $1. A complete single-volume cyclopedia for the American home, fully up-to-date. Everyday Facts contains more than 1 million facts, figures, and fancies drawn from every land and language, and carefully classified for ready reference of teachers, students, businessmen, and the family circle. 483 pages, handsomely bound in paper. Price 50 cents. PG 109. From First to Last, by Muret Halstead, veteran journalist, distinguished war correspondent, brilliant writer, for many years the friend and associate of the makers of history of the Western world. There is no more graphic, incisive writer than he, no shrewder observer of men and events, no one who foretells more unerringly the trend of affairs, their sequence and conclusion. Cuba's struggles for liberty. Cause, crisis, and destiny. Elegant silk-finished cloth, emblematic, ink and gold design, plain edges, $2. Half Morocco, corners tipped, gold back and center stamp, marbled edges, $2. 2,000 Years of German Life, by Johannes Scher. 300 engravings, text in German only. This famous work by the ablest of modern German historians is a graphic narrative of the origin and grand career of the German people, a history of their religious, social, and domestic life, their development in literature, science, music, and art, and their advancement in military and political power to their present position as arbiters of the destiny of Europe. Cloth binding, ornamented in black and silver. Price $1. The best household compendium published, has a reputation that is national. It is based on its real worth. Every recipe it contains was actually tested by the authors and found to be invariably successful. Thoroughly up-to-date, large type, large pages plainly indexed, a handy volume, in brief a perfect cookbook. Price 50 cents. An autobiography, being the personal reminiscences of the author, including the political and financial history of the United States during his public career. The library edition is issued in 2 royal octavo volumes containing over 1,200 pages, bound in the following styles. The household edition is issued in 1 royal volume, containing about 950 pages, printed from new electrotype plates on superfine book paper, richly illustrated with carefully selected views, including places and scenes relating to the author's boyhood. Also many portraits of his contemporaries in the cabinet and senate. In addition, there are a large number of facsimile reproductions of letters from presidents, senators, governors, and well-known private citizens. By Montgomery B. Gibbs, not a technical military history but a gossipy, anecdotal account of the career of Napoleon Bonaparte as his marshals and generals knew him on the battlefield and around the campfire. Crown 8 vo, with full-page illustrations, nearly 600 pages, half-green leather, gilt top and back, English laid paper, uncut edges. Price $1. PG 110. A practical aid, carefully prepared by competent hands, to assist in the transaction of business in either German or English. Any German with a slight knowledge of English can, with the assistance of this book, write an intelligent English business letter. The reverse is equally true. The young man fitting himself for a position requiring a practical knowledge of both German and English will find no simpler or more reliable help. Price 35 cents. By Sir Walter Besant, price $2. Free from reference to ardent spirits, over 1,100 tested recipes. Articles on carving, dinner giving, on serving, cooking for the sick, table etiquette. Good living and good health both considered. 440 pages, extra quality paper, clear type. Price 50 cents. By Bruno Garlep, translated from the German by Sidney Whitman, FRGS, author of Imperial Germany, The Realm of the Habsburgs, Teutonic Studies, etc. The styles of binding and prices are as follows. A manual of self-instruction in all branches of popular education, a complete cyclopedia of reference in history, science, business, and literature. An imperial volume, 10-12 inches long, 9 inches wide, and contains 830 double-column pages, also 1 million facts and figures, 1,000 forms and rules, 500 illustrations, 100 colored plates and diagrams, 60 colored maps, all down to date. Half seal, price $5, cloth $4. By Sigmund Krantz, the queer people that you sometimes see as you wend your way through the crowded thoroughfares of a great city. The author has largely caught them with his camera, and we have before us snapshots, true to life, of all sorts and conditions of men. Price $1. by Jas. W. Steele, a new book which ought to be in every household in the country where there are young people or their elders who take an interest in the progress of the age. The book tells in plain, clear language the story of steam, of the age of steel, and the story of electricity. An up-to-date, non-technical work for the general reader. Scientific in its facts, it is interesting as a novel, illustrated by many pictures and diagrams. 12 mo, half Russia. Price $1. A pocket encyclopedia. A world of knowledge, embracing more than 1 million facts, figures, and fancies drawn from every land and language, and carefully classified for the ready reference of teachers, students, businessmen, and family circle. Compiled by a score of editors under the direction of Mr. J. 100. Thomas, with an introduction by Frank A. Fitzpatrick, Superintendent of City Schools, Omaha, Neb Full Morocco, Gilt. Price $3. PG 111. Or The Beauties of the Western Hemisphere. 256 half-tone pictures with descriptions by John 50. Stoddard. Size 11-14 inches, 128 pages. Bound in cloth with handsome side stamp. Price 75 cents. The Wonderful Career of a Self-Made Man. How he rose from a second lieutenant to the rank of Commander-in-Chief of the United States Army, embracing the thrilling story of his famous Indian campaigns. In this volume the reader is brought face to face with the great Indian leaders, Geronimo, Crazy Horse, Sitting Bull, Chief Joseph, Lame Deer, etc., one of the most remarkable books of the century. A massive volume of 600 pages, printed on fine super-calendared paper with nearly 200 superb engravings, illustrated by Frederick Remington and other eminent artists. Every page bristles with interest, an ever-changing panorama, a history in itself, distinctive, thrilling, and well-nigh incredible. Artistic cloth, chaste and elegant design, plain edges, $4. Presents the complete writings of David P. Page, edited by Supt. J. 1000. Greenwood of the Kansas City Schools, assisted by Prof. Cyrus W. Hodgen of Earlham College, Ind. This new, revised and enlarged edition of this marvelous popular work contains a fresh and exceedingly interesting life of its noted author, with portrait. 12 mo, 343 pages, cloth binding. Price $1. Revised edition is the publication of exceptional merit, containing selections from Ascham, Rousseau, Shenstone, Pestalozzi, Cowper, Goethe, Irving, Mitford, Bront, Thackeray, Dickens, and others who have written on subjects pertaining to educational work, from the Elizabethan period down. To this edition Dr. B. A. Hinsdale, Professor of Pedagogy, University of Michigan, has added an exhaustive paper on the history of the schoolmaster from earliest times as he appears in literature. 12 mo, 447 pages. Price $1. A complete pictorial encyclopedia of practical reference for horse and stock owners, by 500. Magner, author of The Art of Taming and Training Horses, assisted by 12 leading veterinary surgeons. Comprising over 1,200 pages, containing over 1,750 illustrations, the finest and most valuable farmer's book in the world, cloth binding $4, half Russia $5. Collected by Jas. Henry Brownlee. A timely book, martial recitations, heroic, pathetic, humorous, the rarest gems of patriotic prose and poetry. Non-sectional, enthusing, 12 mo, 232 pages, large, sharp type, excellent paper, silk cloth binding, gay and attractive. Price $1, the same in handsome paper binding, 50 cents. By Dr. J. T. Scoville, for 10 years Professor of Natural Science in the Indiana State Normal School. Price $1. A book that every lady should study and every household possess. An intensely interesting chapter on girlhood, education of women. A very practical chapter on general hygiene, including hygiene of the skin and hygiene of the digestive organs. Sympathetic articles on motherhood and the hygiene of childhood. Also hygiene of the respiratory organs, hygiene of the eye, hygiene of the ear, hygiene of the generative organs. Cloth 75 cents, paper 50 cents. PG 112. By W.M. O'Crone, Ph., 500, Professor of Psychology and Pedagogy in the University of Illinois. Price $1. 100 anecdotes of 100 famous men, our eminent orators, wits and sages. Who they are, how they have achieved fame, their ups and downs in life. Artemus Ward, Henry Ward Beecher, Josh Billings, John B. Goh, Petroleum 5. Nasby, Robert J. Burdett, Dwight 50. Moody, Robert G. Ingersoll, Bill Nye, Robert Collier, Danbury Newsman, T. DeWitt Talmage, Eli Perkins, Sam Jones, Geo. W. Peck, Wendell Phillips, Mrs. Partington, Prof. David Swing, Archdeacon Farrar, Bill Arp, etc. Large octavo volume, 710 inches, 600 pages, full of illustrations, fine paper, large clear type, attractive binding. Cloth, plain edges, price $1. A set of 6 instructive and vastly entertaining midget volumes, written expressly for this library by carefully chosen authors. Illustrated by noted artists. Each book contains 128 pages and from 20 to 33 full-page illustrations. The books are bound in skytogan, are sewed, and have the appearance of old folks' books in miniature. Edited by Amelia Hofer, ex-president Kindergarten Department of National Educational Association. Illustrated by Harry O. Landers of the Chicago Times staff. By W. O. Crone, Ph., 500 Professor of Psychology, University of Illinois. Illustrated by W. M. Artman. By George Adair, special writer for the Chicago Record. Illustrated by John T. McCutcheon. From Shakespeare, by Faye Adams Britton, Shakespearean writer. Illustrated by W. M. Artman. Vol. 1 The Tempest, Vol. 2 The Merchant of Venice, A Winter's Tale. By John Hazelden, historian. Illustrated by John T. McCutcheon of the Chicago Record staff. Price 50 cents per set. The scenery and splendors of the United Kingdom. Royal residences, palaces, castles, bowers, hunting lodges, river banks and islets, abbeys and halls, the homes of princes, views of noted places, historic landmarks and ancient ruins in the lands of the rose and thistle, a magnificent collection of views with elaborate descriptions and many interesting historical notes. Text set with emblematic borders printed in a tint, a fine example of up-to-date printing. Large quarto volume, 11-12-13-12 inches, 385 pages, extra enameled paper. Extra English cloth, $4, half Morocco, full gilt edges, $6, full Morocco, full gilt edges, $7. Our Home on the Ocean for 11 Months, by Lady Brassey. The Verdict of the Public, one of the most delightful and popular narratives of travel ever written, both entertaining and instructive. For old and young alike. Size 69 inches, 480 pages, many illustrations, extra quality paper. Cloth gold stamped $1, half Morocco gold stamped $2, full Morocco gold stamped gilt edges $2. PG 113. By 500. Magna, the well-known authority on training, educating, taming and treating horses, the most complete work of the kind in existence, strongly endorsed by leading horse experts everywhere. Large quarto volume, 638 pages, over 1,000 illustrations, half Russian binding. Price $2. In words of easy reading, the sweet stories of God's Word, in the language of childhood, by the gifted author Josephine Pollard, beautifully illustrated with nearly 250 striking original engravings and world-famous masterpieces of sacred art, and with magnificent colored plates. The Bible for young people is complete in one sumptuous, massive, nearly square octavo volume of over 500 pages, bound in extra cloth, ink and gold sides and back. $1. Hundreds of full-page views, portraying scenes all over the world. The views composing this superb volume are reproduced by the perfected halftone process from photographs collected by the celebrated traveler and lecturer, John 50, Stoddard, by whom the pictures are described in graphic language. In Glimpses of the World is presented a grand panorama of England, Scotland and Ireland, France, Germany, Russia, Austria, Turkey, Italy, Spain, Asia, Africa and North and South America. Unquestionably the finest work of the kind ever printed. Buckram. Price $4. A real pocket atlas 53-12 inches, 96 pages, leatherette covers. Needed by every traveling man, should be on every desk, price 10 cents. 448 pages, 8-126 inches, weight 112 pounds, over 1,400 tested recipes by Hugo Zeman, ex-steward of the White House and the well-known expert Mrs. F. 50. Gillette. Illustrated. Price 50 cents. By Oscar of the Waldorf, the most thorough and complete treatise on practical cookery ever published. The author, Oscar T. Skirky, maître d'hôtel, the Waldorf and Astoria, is acknowledged to be one of the foremost authorities of the world. Elaborate directions are given for making ice creams, ices, pastries, and tea and coffee. Selections may be made to gratify any taste. Original and varied recipes are given for making toothsome confections, preserves, jams, pickles, and other condiments. Over 900 pages, valuable information, indispensable to families, hotels, cafes, and boarding houses. Wholesome, palatable, economic, and systematic cooking. Everything used as food is fully considered. Nearly 4,000 recipes, the best and most comprehensive cookbook compiled. Special features such as suggestions with regard to the kitchen, menus, bills of fare, the seasons, markets, etc., etc. Size 810 120 234 inches. Bound in one large octavo volume of over 900 pages in handsome oilcloth. Price $2. As told by the medal winners and Roll of Honor men, a remarkable collection of thrilling historical incidents of personal adventures during and after the Great Civil War. Narratives by such heroes as Gen Lew Wallace, Gen O. Howard, Gen Alex Webb, Gen Fitzhugh Lee, Gen Wade Hampton. A war gallery of noted men and events. A massive volume of over 700 pages, printed on fine calendared paper, illustrated with 300 original drawings of personal exploits. English cloth, emblematic design in gold and colors, $2. For sale by all booksellers or sent postpaid on receipt of the advertised price. The Werner Company, publishers, Akron O.